Welcome to an Arkansas AgCast Deep Dive, where we take a closer look at news that impacts you. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau Federation.
Welcome to the latest episode of the AgCast Deep Dive series. We developed this series as a way to break away from the ag news headlines and take a closer look at a topic that matters to our members. As always, this show is brought to you by Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm the host of today's episode, John McMinn, and I'm glad to welcome Senator John Boozman back to the show here at the Arkansas AgCast. Senator, welcome.
Well, it's great to be with you as always. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I know you're a busy man, and I really appreciate the time you take to zoom in for us today.
No, this is so important. Like I say, it's great to be with you.
Well, I'm sure you probably have a good idea why we asked you on the show today, but just in case, we thought with so many developments in the Farm Bill process, we should check in with you specifically. So can you start by giving us a sort of a state of the Farm Bill?
Yeah, I think we've had some positive developments. G.T. Thompson, the chair of the House Agriculture Committee, who's actually a very good friend. I was in the House for 9 years, served with him, and he's great. He did what nobody thought he could do. He passed a bipartisan bill out of the Ag Committee. And so we've got that, it's kind of, I think, pushed things along a little bit. Senators now brought out her framework. And then we, in the last week or so, brought out our framework. So we've really got all of these different views as to exactly what we need to do. And so we're in the process now of looking at that, and hopefully we'll be working together so that we can bring all that in such a way that we can get a farm bill passed as quickly as possible to give our producers, to give our farmers and ranchers and foresters, everybody associated with the industry, give them some certainty.
Yeah, I keep on reading that putting more farm in the Farm Bill. Is that something that you really focused in on this new framework that you put out?
It's what it's all about. I've been to, of course, I've been all over Arkansas and heard from producers there forever. And the thing is, they're the same all over the country. And we've been to some odd states. And as we start these sessions in the various states, or if we start a hearing here, the first thing we hear is that we've got to get Title I up to date. We've got to get ARC and PLC, where it works. And then also the underpinning crop insurance, making sure that works.
Yes, sir.
So that's putting more farm in the Farm Bill. The other thing I'm very concerned about is trade. It's the lifeblood of agriculture. This administration is not doing a very good job at all with trade. So in our framework, we essentially double the ability of the farm groups, to use dollars to seek out and establish those trade patterns that we desperately need. We've always been the shining star in trade. Trade always has a huge imbalance, but ag has always been positive. Last couple of years, that hadn't been the case. We're projected to have the biggest trade imbalance ever this year, really with no signs of that letting up. The other thing that we're interested in is making sure that our land grants, making sure that the various entities have the dollars they need for research. I think that's really the key as we go forward to make our farmers more productive in so many different ways, whether it's harvesting, whether it's seed varieties, again, soil health, the list goes on. And certainly conservation is very, very important.
Yeah, I know from our farmers here, as well as I do, that trade's been a big focus, especially with us being currently in a trade deficit and projected to be so. Right. And then also the research end of it. As a prior University of Arkansas employee before my time here at Farm Bureau, that was something that was important to me, because I was there on a research grant. So that's a little personal to me. So I really appreciate that. But specifically,
that's why, when you look at the productivity, the patterns of our farmers and ranchers, foresters, we are so efficient. And that's really what it's all about, from keeping farmers in business, keeping the soil healthy, and the climate healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if we're talking about current Farm Bill and we compare it to our last Farm Bill, within your framework, what do you see as being an addition or a difference or a variance from the previous farm bill?
Well, the 2018 Farm Bill was really a tweak of the previous Farm Bill.
Hmm.
And 2018 was really based on 2012 data. And so you look at the world now compared to 2018, compared to 2012, really March of 2021 is when inflation started.
Yes.
Just like every other business that anybody's in, the same things don't work. You have to reset the safety nets. We have to make it such with this increased inflation that the safety nets that we have in place are there so that our farmers can manage their risk and be comfortable going to the bank, being able to actually borrow the money that they need to go forward, and then also going forward. Every chart I've seen has input costs continuing to rise, not as quickly as they have, but they're not going down. They're continuing to rise. And then sadly, when we talk to the USDA, when we talk to our land grants, our economists there, they feel like commodity prices are going to continue to slide. So that's not a good combination. And we have to make it such that our farmers have the ability to hedge, have tools in their toolbox so that they can go forward.
Yeah, that profit margin is really starting, or at starting, has been shrinking for a number of
So
years, hasn't it?
it's about 2% right now. You can do
Hmm.
anything, and make 2%. You
Yeah,
can
it
sell out, lay on the couch, and put your money in the CD and make two and a half times that.
yeah, yeah, that's not it's hard not to
No,
scratch your head on that,
no.
and times have expenses have gotten more or increased substantially, but the
Well,
money that producers are making, it hasn't.
you're exactly right. And then too, you look at the average age of the farmer, 58,
Hmm.
59. In some areas, even a little older than that. So yeah, these are you're wondering, do I risk what I've got if I don't have the safety nets in place?
Hmm.
Is it worth doing it? For 2% or less return. So these are big questions. They're things that we have to deal with, and I would argue that's really what the Farm Bill is all about.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've made a focus on trying to keep the farmers we have. And I was reading that you're also making an emphasis for farming to be a viable career for those beginning people in the future.
Right.
And is that something that you all were really adamant about having there in that farm bill?
Oh, we simply just have to do that. Like I said,
Hmm.
aging farm community. What are we going to do in 10 years? So
Exactly.
we've got to get more people coming in. We've got to invest in rural America, and when we invest in rural America with the Farm Bill, with daycare and various things, to make it more livable, so that
Hmm.
our young people want to come back, and others will want to get into farming. But if we don't do that, we're going to lose what nobody else has is the safest, cheapest food supply of any place else in the world. We take that for granted. We've seen what food inflation does. And, if we don't take care of our farmers, that's really the basis of all this. If we don't take care of them, we're going to have continued food inflation, which is really, really just so destructive to those that are struggling on the lower end.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard on a household with a family, especially a young family. Another thing that kind of stood out to us here at Farm Bureau were some of the protections for poultry farmers. So, can you tell us a little bit about what's included in your framework that is focused in on that piece of issue?
Well, we've recognized that there's a need to help our poultry farmers. They need to be able to hedge their risk. And so in
Hmm.
the past Farm Bill, we said to USDA, we want you to design a program. And, they've done some work on that. So now we're going further. We're saying, the Farm Bill I'd like to see is you need to implement a program. Tell us what you're thinking, what it would look like
Hmm.
to go ahead and actually come up with a program that we could provide people that are in the poultry industry, our producers, provide them a hedge as
Yeah,
they move forward.
yeah, it's kind of tough when it's hard to you lose a flock or you have a natural disaster situation that you're able to recover costs with current programs, but you lose that revenue.
Right.
And trying to address that was a really big thing for our producers here in Arkansas. So we appreciate that.
Is that revenue? It's the difference in making it and not making,
Yeah, yeah. You can only break even for so long, right?
right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
So now we know that Senator Stabenow has also put out her framework on a farm bill. Can you tell us a little bit about what you've included and maybe didn't make the cut in her approach?
Well, I think, what she's trying to do is really keep the status quo. Right
Hmm.
now, nutrition has increased about 85%. The farm programs have basically held the same. So what we're trying to do is put a little bit more farm in the farm bill. They're really resisting us having the ability to move some things around so that we could do that. This is $1.5 trillion.
Hmm.
300 billion of that has anything to do with agriculture in rural America. 1.2 trillion is food stamps, and like I say, that's increased 85% since 2018. So we don't want to hurt anybody. We don't want to limit the growth. They'll still have the cost of living increase. What we want to do is just make it such that some of these technical corrections that were never intended, withdraw those. So we simply can't have 85% increases every year. So
Yeah.
it's just a difference of opinion. I've been
Hmm.
very active in the hunger space. Senator Stabenow has been very active. In fact, we're I'm going to be going around Arkansas looking at the summer meals programs. She and I were able to institute a law that really made that transition from the school year, the school feeding programs into the summer much more seamless,
Yeah.
especially in rural Arkansas, rural America.
Hmm.
And that's been very well received. We've gotten a lot of good positive feedback, from that. So we can do some big things in nutrition, and we have. But as I said, if you don't have the farmers where they can make a living and go forward, it all breaks down.
Yeah. Well, you've kind of hinted at y'all working together in some sense, but what are some of the things in Senator Stabenow's framework as well as yours that have aligned together?
Well, a lot of it aligns. Her what with just basic stuff. We're changing some things, but a lot of it staying the same. And so
Hmm.
hers is more status quo. She wants to increase nutrition even more, and then also increase conservation. Right now, the real problem with this is right now, uh, nutrition is mandatory spending. It goes on regardless of what happens. Okay.
Yeah.
What they want to do is make conservation mandatory, where it goes on regardless.
Hmm.
So then the farm part of the farm bill is just kind of hanging out there by itself. So you're breaking down that bond between the nutrition and the conservation programs, working with our farmers to work together to pass this massive bill. And so there's really no reason for the other groups to really support a farm bill. And I think that would be really detrimental to our farmers.
Yeah. I completely understand. So, going forward, how do these two different views or approaches come together? And what does that
Well,
look
the
like?
good news is that I've been around the country. I've talked to many members in the House. I've talked to many members in the Senate,
Hmm.
trying to get their viewpoints. So the good news is most members of Congress realize how important. Usually, ag is number one in their states, and so they realize how important agriculture is. They want to get a farm bill passed. And
Yeah.
so people like Farm Bureau are doing a tremendous job, pushing things forward, making the case, as to why we need to get this done, the certainty that farmers need. We can't just keep piecemealing this thing together forever. On the other hand, I would say we have to be careful because if we don't do something meaningful, if we're just going to do the same thing, this is a 5 year contract, not a 1 year contract. It's a 5 year contract. If we're not
Yes.
going to do something meaningful, there's no reason to do it right now.
Yeah. I agree. 100%. Well, the tough question is, I'm pretty sure I asked you last time you were on with us. Do you think it'll pass this year? Are we looking at an extension potentially?
Well, we're working hard to get it passed, and as I
Hmm.
said, I think it's going to be as easy to pass it this year as it will next year. Farm bills are always difficult.
Hmm.
So I'm optimistic that we'll get it done this year. On the other hand, if it looks like we're not, then we're going to go ahead and get a year extension to make sure that our farmers have the continuity that they need. But
Yeah.
I'd like to get a 5-year bill that really makes meaningful difference. We talked about poultry. We talked about making it where reference prices actually work. ARC works again, improving crop insurance, getting more money to our land grants, to our research entities, helping with trade. These are things that simply have to be done.
Hmm. Well, I really appreciate the information you've given us here, but we're gonna, as usual, we have a fun question here on the podcast, and we can't get away
Good for you.
without talking about.
For me.
Yes, sir. But here on the podcast, we can't get away from talking about food any week. So when you're back home, here in Arkansas, and you're visiting your favorite ice cream shop, what's your order?
I'm kind of an old fashioned guy. I'm a vanilla ice cream guy, and sometimes I'll get like a caramel sundae or something.
Yeah,
Exotic for me.
yeah, yeah.
It's kind of I'm a shake guy, or like a triple scoop. You know,
Ice
so
cream cone or no cone?
no, I like the cone.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Especially in the summer, it's always a challenge to eat it without it melting all. You
Yeah,
got
you got to
to
be quick about it, don't you?
way, to work the edges and this and that, to keep it all sorted out. You know,
I do. I do. I've had my fair share of ice cream.
yeah,
Big fan.
yeah,
And try my best to support those dairy producers out there as well. So,
exactly.
well, Senator, I really, really appreciate the time you've taken to meet with us today via Zoom. As much as we love to have you here in the building, but you're doing good work for not only our members but farmers across the state and the country, and we really appreciate it. So, again, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. And again, we are doing our best. And also, you guys are doing good work across the state and across the country too. In order for us to get a farm bill, in order for us to move the farm community forward, it's the grassroots. That's really the key. And so, like I say, thanks to all of the grassroots for the great job that you do.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. Well, that wraps up this special edition of the Arkansas AgCast. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this deep dive episode. We'll continue bringing on guests to take a closer look at topics important to our members. Remember, you can catch new weekly episodes of the Arkansas AgCast every Thursday. Find video episodes on Facebook and YouTube, and listen to the audio version wherever you listen to podcasts. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review when you have a few extra minutes. The Arkansas AgCast is brought to you by Arkansas Farm Bureau. I'm John McMahon. We'll see you next time.